Hello guys, welcome to the 3D market commentary for today. Today is November the 4th, so hopefully you guys, is it Thursday? Hopefully you guys are having a great week so far. I lose track of the days, but I know we're later on into the week. Hopefully you've got a good trading week so far. Let me just put the disclaimers up in the top left hand corner. Of course, need to do that. Whilst they're up there, of course, please do read them. I'm just going to explain quickly what the 3D market commentary is. So we send out an email every day, Monday to Friday, to our free members that has information on 5 major markets in the world, looking at 3 major elements, hence why we call it the 3D market commentary. We then do a video every day, Monday to Friday, to expand on that email, expand on where we're getting that data from and what it means, to give it a little bit more context. Now, if you have questions about anything I cover, you can email me, becky@tradictive.com, or you can email support@tradictive.com. We'll help you with any questions you have. Ideally though, when you have a question, you'd come to this link, which is tradewithufos.com/Becky. That's the link up there. Now, the reason that we prefer that you go to that link to ask questions is once you're on this link and you scroll down, you can do things like get apps here and you can book one-on-one coaching. But if you scroll down and sign in, you can then post a question in a public domain, which means other people can see the question and, more importantly, we can see the answer as well. So we're all seeing the questions and the answers and therefore learning together from this place. So ideally that's where you post questions rather than by email, but if you would rather do it by email, that's also fine. Either way, if you have questions, let us know. So let's bring up that email that we send out every day that has information on 5 major world markets. Like I said, we look at 3 separate elements, hence why we call it the 3D approach or the 3D market commentary. Now, first things first that we want to look at when it comes to these 3 elements is the market climate. Essentially what that means is, where do we have probabilities? Is it up, down, nowhere? Therefore, do we buy, sell, or do nothing? We want to know when we trade where the probabilities are. What's the likelihood for the upcoming market direction? Now, we use technology in everything we do to make this easy for us. So we use AutoClimate, which is a free app on most platforms you can get it on. And AutoClimate shows us where we have probabilities, answers that question for us. If you ignore the lines and just focus on the dots, if we have a thick red dot, like the one we have there, then we have probability downwards. If we have a thick blue dot, like the one we have there, then we have probability upwards. If we have a thin dot of either colour, that tells us not enough probability either way, therefore we do nothing. So overall, we're using this app, we're using this technology to help us figure out whether or not we should be buying, selling, or moving on. So we'll look at that per market. Then we want to know, where are all the buyers, where are all the sellers? When I say all, I mean big chunks of them. Now, why would we want to know where all of the buyers are and where all of the sellers are? Well, because if we have an idea of where big stacks of buyers are, price is likely to go up from there. Lots of buying normally means price goes up. Lots of selling normally means price goes down. So we want to know where lots of sellers are. So again, we use an app that helps us with this. We use AutoUFOs. That's a free app. Oh, my arrow went a little bit weird there. But here we go. Free app. It's a depending on which platform you use, depends on the subscription cost for it. But it's a relatively affordable app that helps us to figure out where the buyers and sellers are. Now, it's helpful because if we see these little green UFOs that I'm pointing to now, that shows us where the buyers are and it tells us the prices as well. These red UFOs show us where the sellers are and the prices as well. So then we have an idea of, if price comes up and hits that seller, big stack of sellers, it's likely to come down. And we have an idea of that happening ahead of time. So that's why we want to know that. And then the third thing is market volatility. How quickly do these markets move? How quickly can we expect them to move? So we'll look at that per market, and everything we're looking at is relevant to a daily chart. Okay, so obviously different things happen on different time frames, but this is relevant to a daily chart. We'll start with the S&P 500. That's the top 500 US stocks. And what we see here is a thick blue dot, confirmed probability upwards, confirmed upwards climber here. So probability up here on a daily chart of the S&P. Now, we are overextended. We have gone a little bit past what is normal. That's what we see here from those stats, but still probability upwards. We have buyers underneath us. That's 4619.50 to 4559.25. That's where we have buyers. So again, if price were to come down, and hit that stack of buyers, likely to go up from there. So we want to know where that is. Overall probability up here for the S&P. Then when it comes to volatility, we'd expect that in 1 year, the S&P would go up or down by 15.11%. So in a day, that's up or down of 44.43 points. In a week, it would be 97.56 points. And in a month, 203.08 points. And again, that's up or down in those periods of time. So overall probability up here for the S&P. Now we say probability, but that doesn't mean that it's definite, right? That doesn't mean that we know 100%. So we still manage our risk, we still might add different things in, but we at least want to know where the probabilities lie to start with, and that's why we do this. So moving on to the next market, which is oil. I'm just going to squish this down. It looks like we did have some that's interesting. It looks like we did have some sellers, which are here, but they're not showing on the charts. That must mean that they've disappeared. They're no longer. Oh yeah, seeing what the numbers are, those sellers have been taken out. So essentially, if you've got this email, ignore that. No longer there. The sellers are gone. So with crude oil, we have a confirmed downwards climate, thick red dot, probability down. We're at the start of what would be a usual move to the downside. However, we do have buyers in the way there, between 78.89 to 74.96. Now, the sellers have been taken out, which is not good for the sell side. We've got buyers beneath us, which is not good for the sell side, but the climate is to the downside. So we kind of have this sort of mixed view right now, probabilities in different directions, which means for me, if we don't have clear probabilities lining up in one direction, there's no need really to risk money on it, in my opinion. So I would kind of keep away from this, to be honest. Now, just to say, before we move on to volatility, we do different courses that will expand on these things in much more depth to learn how to trade futures, stocks, forex, in the way that we use our technology, how to back test things, how to get a trading plan, and trading psychology as well. Now, a lot of our courses come with a 3-month complimentary access to the apps. AutoClimate's a free app on most platforms, you can get it on anyway, but AutoUFOs is a paid-for app, which you can subscribe to directly. You don't have to do a course, you can just go straight for the apps. Most of the time though, cheaper to get a course and get the apps for free for 3 months than it would be to just go straight to the apps. So coming back to oil, as we saw, we had sort of conflicting things. We had a climate downwards, but buyers beneath us, sellers being taken out, so kind of unclear on oil. In terms of volatility, we expect it to move up or down in 1 year of 39.44%. That's 2.03 points up or down in a day, 4.47 points up or down in a week, and 9.31 points up or down in a month. So next market is gold. Now, as I load it, it just says here about coaching and support. We do offer a bunch of coaching and support for free, so you can check that out. We also have a closed coaching community for a small monthly fee. You get access to more of our time in a closed environment. So check out what would work best for you there. So with gold, confirmed downwards climate, thick red dot there, probability to the downside. And again, towards the start of what would be a normal move to the downside of a few more candles. So probability to the downside with that. We have sellers here between 1866 and 1804.4. And we have buyers quite a way down, relatively speaking, at 1652.8 to 1624.4. So overall, probability down here with gold. In terms of volatility, we'd expect gold to move up or down in 1 year of 16.28%. So in a day, that's 18.23 points up or down. In a week, 40.13 points. And in a month, 83.54 points. So that's gold. Next market is the US dollar. Now, the US dollar is responsible for about 80% of transactions daily. So be aware of what it's doing, whether you trade it or not. So with the US dollar, we have an unconfirmed climate. We've got a thin dot there. That tells us not enough probabilities either way, which means do nothing. Now, we do have sellers that we've just hit between 94.57 to 94.235. Price has already come into those sellers and been pushed away once. We've come back into these sellers now. So they may push us down again and we might see the climate confirmed to the downside, or it might be that we push through and the climate confirms to the upside. For the time being, it's unconfirmed, not enough probabilities either way. Now, in terms of volatility, with the dollar, we'd expect it to move up or down in 1 year of 5.44%. So in a day, that's 0.32 points. In a week, 0.71 points. And in a month, 1.48 points up or down. So that's the US dollar. Then if we scroll down here, we have backed Bitcoin. Backed Bitcoin is the last market that we'll look at. And with backed Bitcoin, let's just squish this so we see it. We have thick blue dot, probability upwards. We have buyers beneath us at 62,777.5 to 60,390. Now we're in those buyers right now, so we'd expect them to push price up, but we'll see what happens there. Overall though, probability upwards for the time being on backed Bitcoin. In terms of volatility, we'd expect it to move up or down in 1 year of 86.33%, which in 1 day is 3,377.71 points. In a week would be 7,435.7 points, and in a month is 15,478.63 points. So for each of these markets, what we've looked at is market climate using the AutoClimate app to give us an idea of where we have probabilities, up, down or nowhere. We've then looked at buy and sell UFOs. Where do we have buyers and sellers, which are not on this chart, but where do we have buyers and sellers that could move price respectively up or down? And what do we expect in terms of volatility? How quickly do we expect them to move? Now, if you have any questions, you can reach out, like we said, by email or to that link. Just before I show you that again, let's just round off with our weekly economic calendar. It's a big one this week, so I'll scroll down. That's what we're looking at. We get this from fxstreet.com and we filter by high impact news, meaning we want to know what news reports are scheduled to come out that are likely to have an impact on the markets or a high impact on the markets and create a bit of volatility. So today being Thursday, we had some news coming out on the pound round about now for the next hour or so, coming out on the pound. So not just the pound but British markets. And then we have the euro as well, similar time. And then we have the Australian dollar or the Australian markets that also could be affected by high impact news today. So be aware of those things. If you trade those markets, be aware you might see extra movement in them today. So any questions, you can email me, becky@tradictive.com. Or as I said, better to go to tradewithufos.com/Becky so that you can sign in and you can post your question here that I can then answer here and we can all learn from this space together. You can also from this link book one-on-one coaching if you'd like, or you can get the apps if you want to get them directly from here. So hopefully you guys are having a nice end to your trading week. I'll be back tomorrow for the same again, and I'll be doing a Forex session in a bit. So I'll see you guys then if you're joining.